the summer of 2008, Fox Broadcasting greenlit Glee, the longest long shots in a genre that had been a proven loser on television, the musical. With veteran comic actor Jane Lynch and Broadway star Matthew Morrison signed on, the biggest challenge became finding the young members of the Glee Club. The producers were looking for players who could not only tackle the overwrought emotions of the high school jungle, but also handle the challenging music and dance numbers as well. It was a tall order for any casting director.
It was overwhelming. I mean, when I first read the script, I was like, well, this is going to be really a challenge.
We wanted to have characters that were archetypes for high school, but we wanted to find a way to twist them a bit and shake them a bit to make them a little bit unexpected.
We needed people who were misfits and outsiders and yet had great talent and great promise, and that's a tricky balance.
And producer Ryan Murphy had one more demand to make on an already complicated casting process.
Ryan really felt very strongly that we go with unknowns, and we wanted to introduce people to Rachel Berry, not a successful actress who you were trying to convince had become Rachel Berry.
In all, they would audition close to 3,000 hopefuls for Glee's young cast, including the role of McKinley High Glee Club's self-proclaimed star.
You need somebody who you looked at and you listened to and you said, okay, I can't stop looking at you and I can't stop listening to you no matter how annoying you might be.
Robert Ulrich had high hopes for a little-known up-and-coming Broadway talent named Leah Michele.
I started working on Broadway when I was 8 years old. My first show was Les Mis in 1995.
Ulrich invited her to join the Cattle Call.
When I was on my way there, I got into a car crash right outside of the driveway for the Fox lot. And I had glass in my hair and little cuts on my skin. And we said to her, Leah, please, come back tomorrow. And she said, oh no. Then they didn't believe me that I had gotten into a car crash, so I pulled out chunks of glass in my hair and put it on the table.
Not even a trip to the emergency room was going to stop that girl from getting that part.
I think the rest of the team expects us to become an item. You, the hot Nelly, be the stunning young ingenue everyone roots for.
I was reading with her, and she walked in, and in the original pilot, there was a scene where she slapped Finn, and I was reading Finn's role. And she hauls up and slaps me. And that just shows, she embodied that character, she went with it, and she got the part.
After Leah got the part, one of her friends auditioned for the show, Broadway actress Jenna Ushkowitz.
I was on Broadway when I was younger, and then that's where I met Leah. And we were doing 2 different shows, but the Broadway kid community is quite small, so we were friends.
Jenna read and sang for the role as shy, insecure goth glee clubber Tina Cohen-Chang.
And her challenge was to make the character unique and stand out, and she did.
They called me, they told me I got it, and it's kind of a whirlwind.
Thank you.
I think that the most difficult role to cast was probably Finn. Ryan, from the beginning, wanted the character to truly be believable as a high school jock. And the challenge was to find somebody who could play kind of clueless but not stupid, and he wanted to be able to sing.
Corey Monteith's acting manager caught wind of a new Fox pilot that was struggling to find a lead.
She's just like, it's called Glee, and it's a singing and dancing show. Can you sing? And I was just like, well, not really.
They sent in an audition tape that showed his musicality.
It was like 2 in the morning, we were watching tapes, and we saw this tape of Corey.
They'd taken myself playing the drums on whatever I found in the office, which was, I looked like a huge dork.
He played this Tupperware, which was very charming and actually very smart because it made him stand out.
It was enough to convince casting directors to ask Corey to come out to LA.
So I got in my car and I drove from Vancouver to Los Angeles. I picked up Billy Joel's greatest hits and the soundtrack to Rent. I was just singing the entire way on the drive down.
The first time I think Corey ever sang in front of anybody was when he sang for Ryan the producers, and the second time was in front of the studio network.
25 minutes later, he got the part. Chris Colfer had a much different audition experience. He created his own role just by walking through the door.
Kurt is the fashionable soprano. He's the gay student in McKinley High, and he's the character that I think audiences get to watch grow up and get to grow up with him.
Colfer was only 17 when he auditioned for Glee.
I read the script, and it was, I laughed out loud, and I recognized songs that I knew from Guys and Dolls, from A Chorus Line. I love the fact that the show celebrates kids just like me, the Gleeks they're called now. My kind did not have a title before the show came along.
Initially, Colfer tried out for the part of Artie Abrams, a wheelchair-bound outcast with heart.
And he really wasn't an Artie, but I had him read and I had him sing, and I knew that he was so special. So I took him to Ryan, and I said, Ryan, there is not a role for this kid, but I think you're going to love him.
The script called for an Indian student named Rajesh. Still, Robert brought Chris in to audition for the role.
So he walked in, and he obviously wasn't a Rajesh.
No, I'm not Rajesh. No, Rajesh died a long time ago. R.I.P. Rajesh.
He was more of a Kurt.
As soon as I walked through the door, Ryan Murphy looked at me and said, "Why do I have a feeling you've been in The Sound of Music?" And I said, well, I was Kurt in The Sound of Music when I was 14. And then lo and behold, when I went to the next audition, they were replacing Rajesh, an Indian student, with this new character named Kurt. And I thought, interesting. And I was the only one there auditioning for Kurt. And I thought, interesting. Again. And then the rest is history. And actually my original contracts for Lee, the ones that I signed the day that I got the job, still say Artie 2 because the character wasn't officially in the system yet.
The role of Artie 1 eventually went to a former member of the boy band NLT, Kevin McHale.
My audition was in one of those places that when you go in the room, you can hear everybody's audition, which is horrifying.
He sang one of my favorite songs, Let It Be. I think he did it beautifully.
I screwed up and repeated the same words and did some weird oohs that weren't in the song.
He waited hours after the audition to get word.
I had to wait and die on the inside. Like, I'm out, it's been a fun run, I've never gotten this close to something before. I had a blast.
He always tells the story, he thinks he screwed up. I don't think he did. I think he was amazing.
And then my manager called and told me I got it, and I screamed in the middle of the restaurant.
The next member of the New Directions to be cast was Mercedes, the diva in training who refuses to sing backup. Amber Riley got the part, but it wasn't her first time in front of Fox.
Amber had auditioned for American Idol previously, and it just shows that one door closes and another opens.
Not all of the stars had as much singing experience.
My name is Jamie Mays. I play Emma Pillsbury on the show. Emma is a misophobic guidance counselor. The audition process for me was one of the most terrifying experiences of my entire life. I remember the room kind of spinning when I started to sing, and I thought, I'm going to projectile vomit on Ryan Murphy. I magically got a call back. I think they were on crack that day, for sure.
Rounding out the cast were Puck, a teen jock and bully played by Mark Salling, Santana, a mean girl cheerleader played by Naya Rivera, and Principal Figgins played by character actor Iqbal Teba. The final part to be cast was Quinn, head cheerleader and Finn's girlfriend. But the day before production was set to begin on the pilot, the role had yet to be filled. Diana Agron had previously auditioned and got a call back to meet with the casting director. She had to be there in 1 hour.
I was already out of the house, and the notes were, be there in an hour, have your hair straight, and wear something sexy.
We wanted it to be perfect because everybody was so busy that they didn't have time to see her, so there was a lot of pressure on me to make sure that it was right.
My hair was curly, so I bought a straightener, and I went to the Starbucks bathroom, and I straightened it, went back in.
And sang her song and did her lines and sent the tape off, and she got the part.
I went over to Fox this time, signed some paperwork, was told I started work in 2 days, was very confused as to why I didn't meet anyone. It's not very typical that you don't meet any of your executive producers before your first day of work, so I was pretty lucky.
With the cast assembled, the production team was on the verge of attempting something they had never done before. A full tilt, unabashed, in-your-face musical with all the trimmings. And they had just 3 weeks to pull it off.